All right, so we're diving into Zane's Addicted today.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and, we've got like excerpts and reviews and even some of the author's own thoughts to kind of unpack here.
Cool.
So it's a story of Zoe Reynard, a black businesswoman, wife, mother.
Mm-hmm.
Seems like she has it all,
Right.
but she's battling sex addiction.
Wow.
Yeah, pretty intense.
Mm-hmm.
This book, it was like a huge bestseller.
Oh, yeah, I remember.
Even became a movie.
It did.
But the thing that I find so fascinating is like what would drive someone like Zoe to risk everything,
Right.
So let's dive into her story
Yeah, let's get into it.
and see what we can uncover.
Absolutely.
Because it's interesting that you bring that up.
Oh.
Because Zane really doesn't shy away from exploring like her motivations and all.
No, she doesn't.
And it all starts like way back in her childhood.
Okay, so like the root of it all.
Yeah, and her first meeting with Jason, her future husband, is anything but romantic.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean, 5th grade.
Wow.
He gives her the finger and spits on her shoes.
Oh, my gosh.
Talk about a meet cute, huh?
I was going to say, not exactly the best first impression.
I know, right? And she even calls him, get this, a junior Mac Daddy wannabe.
Oh, wow. She really went there.
I know, right? Zane really captures her voice.
She does. It's very authentic.
Don't you think?
Yeah, for sure.
But this initial clash between them, it's actually really significant.
Okay.
Because despite, all this animosity, Zoe's father actually ends up bonding with Jason.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, and so that bond sparks some jealousy in Zoe early on.
I can see that.
Remember when her dad decides to help Jason build a go-kart?
Yeah, instead of
building her a treehouse.
Oh, yeah.
Her reaction is priceless.
Oh, I bet.
But it also kind of hints at something deeper,
Yeah.
This like need for her father's attention.
Yeah.
And it's just like maybe a need that went unmet.
Yeah, I see that.
And this is where it gets really interesting. Zane actually reveals that Zoe's struggles with sex addiction, they're directly linked to like some childhood trauma.
Oh, wow.
Specifically her father's death.
Makes sense.
And also some pretty disturbing sexual experiences she had as a child.
So it's like a combination of things.
It's heavy stuff, and it really makes you wonder, like, how much of who we are is actually shaped by these early experiences.
Right, especially the ones that we're not even fully aware of.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, that's a really powerful question.
For sure.
I mean, do you think Zoe is fully aware of this connection
That's a great point.
between her childhood and her addiction?
It doesn't seem like it.
Or is it something she's suppressing?
Yeah, maybe. It's like she's trying to outrun her past, but keeps getting pulled back in,
Yeah, I totally get that.
So we've got this foundation of childhood trauma.
Right.
But now let's fast forward to Zoe's present life.
Okay.
She's got this successful career. She's a devoted mother, married to, of all people, Jason.
Oh, wow. So they ended up together.
Right.
That's crazy.
Crazy how life works.
Yeah.
But she's also engaging in multiple affairs.
At the same time.
Yes, like she's living this complete double life.
Oh, wow. That's a lot.
I know, and that's where the real conflict lies.
Right.
She's striving for this like image of perfection in her public life,
Oh.
but her private life is a mess.
Yeah, full of like risky behavior, hidden desires.
Yeah, exactly.
So what do you think? What's the cost of maintaining this facade for her?
Oh, it's got to be taking a huge toll, right?
Yeah,
I
definitely.
mean, this constant fear of exposure,
The guilt.
the guilt, the emotional turmoil
It's a lot to carry.
of leading this double life.
Yeah.
And then we have Brina,
Okay.
Zoe's best friend,
Right.
and she's actually trapped in an abusive relationship.
Oh, no, that's awful.
And she envies what she sees as Zoe and Jason's perfect marriage.
Oh, the irony.
The irony is just so heavy, right?
Yeah, it really makes you think about how we can misjudge others just based on appearances.
Totally, yeah.
It's a reminder that you never really know what battles people are fighting beneath the surface.
Absolutely, and it makes you think about your own life, right?
Yeah.
And the assumptions that you might be making about others.
The good point.
Have you ever felt that pull? That conflict between what you should do
Yeah.
and what you actually desire?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
It's something that Zoe really embodies throughout the whole novel.
Yeah, it's relatable, like that feeling of being torn between different desires and responsibilities. But for Zoe, it's like the stakes are so much higher.
Yeah, way higher.
Her entire life could unravel if her secrets are exposed.
Yeah, exactly.
And it eventually gets to this point where she realizes, like, she needs help. And she seeks out Dr. Marcella Spencer, a therapist.
Right. And thankfully, Zane portrays her in a really positive light.
Yeah, I'm glad she did that.
It's refreshing, right?
It is.
To see a novel that actually tackles therapy.
Yeah, especially in the African-American community.
Yeah, especially in that community.
Without perpetuating negative stereotypes.
Yeah.
Seeking help is often seen as this weakness.
Right.
But Zane really flips that script and shows it as strength.
Yeah, it's a powerful statement.
It really is.
And through therapy, Zoe starts to peel back the layers of her addiction.
So she's finally confronting it head on.
Yes. And it leads to some pretty surprising discoveries, even about Jason.
Interesting.
And that's where Zane's theme of we are what we attract really comes into play.
Oh, that's an interesting concept.
Yeah. Zoe, with all of her unresolved issues, she seems to just be a magnet for other troubled individuals.
Like she's drawn to them.
Yes. Why do you think Zane focuses on this idea?
That's a good question.
Of attraction. What do you think it says about Zoe?
Well, I think Zane is using these relationships to almost force Zoe to confront her own demons,
Yeah.
It's not just about the thrill of the affair, but about understanding the patterns in her choices.
So she's not just attracted to the excitement.
Right.
But the dysfunction itself.
Exactly, like it's somehow familiar to her.
Yeah, like she's comfortable with it.
Right.
Almost like she seeks it out.
Yeah, and that recognition is a crucial step in her journey of self-discovery.
Yeah, for sure.
It's a painful process.
But ultimately, it's about Zoe finding the strength.
Yeah.
To face her past and her addiction.
That's powerful.
Yeah, absolutely.
That.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and it's is it conscious?
Hmm.
How much of that attraction is conscious and how much of it is driven by these deeper subconscious patterns that she might not even grasp. You know what I mean?
It's almost like by attracting these other troubled individuals, Zoe is externalizing her internal conflicts.
Interesting.
Like playing them out in her relationships rather than confronting them within herself.
Right, and that's insightful, I think.
Thank you.
It's like she's trying to work through her own issues by proxy.
Exactly.
Which, of course, is just going to lead to more pain.
Right, of course.
And more complications.
Yeah.
And it begs the question, is she ultimately seeking healing?
Right.
Or just a temporary escape?
That's a good question.
Yeah,
it's one that Zane kind of leaves us to ponder.
Yeah.
But what is clear is that Zoe's journey, though messy and painful, eventually leads her to a place of self-realization and hopefully healing.
Right.
It's about facing those demons, acknowledging the darkest parts of herself, and then finding the strength to move forward.
And Zane makes a point of highlighting something that's often overlooked, especially in stories about women.
Yeah.
This importance of acknowledging and understanding sexual desires and needs.
Right.
It's like she's challenging these societal norms.
Absolutely.
That often dictate how women should feel and behave in this realm,
Oh, I totally agree with that. And I think that's a really crucial aspect of the novel.
Yeah.
Zane is encouraging open communication in relationships.
Which is something Zoe and Jason desperately need.
Exactly. Instead of hiding and suppressing their desires, they need to confront them honestly and find a way to connect on a deeper level.
Yeah, I wonder if part of Zoe's addiction stems from that lack of communication.
Oh, that's a good point.
The inability to actually express her needs within the marriage.
That's possible.
And it's interesting that you mentioned connection.
Yeah.
Because this novel is actually part of a series.
It is. Oh, cool.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Dr. Marcella Spencer, the therapist,
becomes
a recurring character.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So she goes on to help other African-American women grappling with these really complex emotional and sexual issues.
Interesting.
And it suggests this broader exploration of these themes,
Oh, okay.
It's a deeper dive into these intricacies of relationships and self-discovery.
That makes me want to dive into those other books.
Right.
And see how Dr. Spencer guides these women on their journeys.
Me too.
It's awesome.
So it's not just Zoe's story.
Right.
It's like this tapestry of experiences.
Yeah, like a chorus of voices.
Yeah.
Speaking to the complexities of womanhood and the search for healing and fulfillment.
It really makes you think.
It does.
It's incredible how Zane weaves together all these layers.
Yeah.
This childhood trauma.
The conflicting desires.
The search for help, and ultimately the courage that it takes to confront your demons.
Yeah, it's a story that definitely stays with you.
It does.
For sure.
And it leaves you with so many questions. Like if you could ask Zoe one question, what would it be?
Oh, that's tough.
I know.
There's so much I'd want to know.
Right.
I think I'd probably ask her, like, what advice she'd give to her younger self.
Oh, that's good.
Knowing what she knows now,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
What about you?
I think I would ask her about that pivotal moment.
Okay.
When she decides to seek help.
Yeah.
Like, what finally pushed her to that point?
Right.
What made her realize she couldn't keep running?
It's such a good question.
From herself.
Yeah, it really speaks to the heart of the story, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Like, that moment of surrender when you finally acknowledge you need help.
Yeah.
And that asking for help is not a weakness, but a sign of incredible strength.
And it makes you wonder how her relationship with Jason kind of evolves
Totally.
from that point forward.
Right.
Does that act of seeking help become a turning point for them as a couple?
It's a question a lot of readers probably have.
Yeah.
And I wonder if Zane even delves into that in those other books. You know, does Dr. Spencer kind of guide them through those challenges?
I don't know, maybe.
Maybe we have to read the series to find out.
Right.
Yeah, I think so.
But even without knowing all the answers, this deep dive into Addicted has been incredibly thought-provoking.
It really has.
For sure.
It really does underscore the point that everyone has a story, you know, a past that shapes their present. And that even the most seemingly perfect lives can hide these deep secrets and struggles.
And it's a reminder to be kind.
Right.
To be compassionate.
Absolutely.
To remember that we never truly know what battles others are fighting.
So true.
And for our listeners, if this deep dive has sparked your curiosity, I really encourage you to explore Zane's other works.
Yeah, definitely.
Dr. Marcella Spencer has a lot more wisdom to share.
You won't be disappointed.
Yeah, for sure.
It's like stepping into a world where women's stories are celebrated. Their voices are amplified.
Yeah.
And their journeys towards healing and self-discovery are honored.
Beautifully put.
Thank you.
And it really is like that saying, you know, don't judge a book by its cover. We make assumptions about people just based on what we see.
Totally. The surface.
But there's always more to the story.
Always. Yeah.
So this deep dive, I think, has given us a lot to think about.
For sure.
What resonated with you the most?
I think what really struck me was how Zoe's story, even though it's fictional, it reflects a really real truth, you know?
Yeah.
About the human experience. Like, we all crave that connection and intimacy and fulfillment, but sometimes we look for it in really unhealthy ways.
Yeah, especially when we're carrying around all that, you know?
Especially when we're carrying around that unresolved pain from our past.
You wonder, like, what other stories are out there just waiting to be told that challenge our perceptions, that make us question our assumptions about the world and the people in it.
I think that's a great takeaway from this deep dive,
Yeah.
this invitation to be more curious, to listen more deeply,
Yeah.
and to approach each other with empathy and understanding, because, I mean, everyone has a story, and every story deserves to be heard.
Beautifully said.
Thank you.
And on that note, we want to thank you for joining us
Yes.
on this deep dive into Zane's Addicted.
It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, it really has.
Exploring this complex and thought-provoking novel with you.
It's been great.
We hope this conversation has, you know, sparked some new insights, maybe even inspired you to seek out Zane's other books.
Yeah.
Or just, you know, be more open to the stories unfolding around you every day.
Absolutely. Until next time, keep diving deep.
Keep those minds open.
Keep exploring the world.
The fascinating world of human experience.
Yeah, thanks for joining.